All right, tonight is Wednesday, October the 2nd. This is Management 3025. Please come in. We're starting a little early. And I've been a little bit out of the loop. I went to Boston with my wife. She had a conference. And this is what I brought back.
Very good. Yeah.
So this is my other go to hell hat. Mr. Withers is not feeling well this evening. He won't be here. I'm not feeling great. I'll be here for as long as I can. Couple of comments. DC 1. Jim graded all of the SWOT and value statement stuff, and I've still got a bunch of videos that I'll be working through in the next couple of 3 days. So if you've got a partial score, be patient. We'll adjust that up as I get through the videos. What else is going on? I got a little bit of a backcurrent rumor from the advisors over in business programs about your DC2, the academic plan, right? Mm-hmm. Apparently a number of people were going to the advisors saying, hey, what the hell is this? You know, I need a little help here. And they get kind of overwhelmed, like, what are you doing to them, Strickland? Well, actually, we're trying to look at, how to plan out the future. Nothing wrong with that. But I wanted to, and I'll try to put this in writing too, a couple of things about that. Go ahead.
Well, it's really helpful because I'm taking the first one of the management
seminars, yeah.
The seminars, and I had to prepare the same thing to submit for that.
Exactly. For
my first assignment. So right. For me, that dovetailed together perfectly. And to have that information already at hand.
Yeah, exactly right. Come in. My concern is that I'm not sure when people are really being informed about what you should be doing for loading up your course schedule. If you didn't go through orientation, did you go to see an advisor before you registered for your first term? Yes. I think a lot of people did, but I know a number of people didn't. So the sooner we try to get a handle on that, McGill, the better we're all going to be. One thing, for example, we have a number of people, and clearly they're not in this course, but they've been self-advising. What's that mean?
Screw it up.
Deciding for themselves, here's what I need to take. Translated loosely, screwing up. This course and the professional writing course are supposed to be the first two courses you take in the program. Instead, I've got a few people floating around out there that have had 6 or 7 or 8 courses and still haven't been through this one. So we've got to find them, bring them back, and get them on track. If you came into this program with an AA degree, you had your 36 hours of general education courses. No big deal. You got a lot of room for electives. If you came into this program with an AS degree, you didn't have that many general education courses, so you had to use some of your electives to take those. That sound familiar? Mm-hmm. Apparently a lot of people weren't clear on that. And to me, it's not real clear. If you have that AS degree, well, which of these courses that you did take do count towards general ed? And so that's where we would need Doug Robertson or Catherine Lawton to tell us, or to tell me anyway, this counts and this doesn't. Okay? So we're trying to get that clarified in everybody's mind so everybody's on track. At some point in time, hopefully we'll be able to collate that information and project next term which classes do we need and how much space do we need in them. And that way the courses you want to take will be available. As long as the program is in its early stages and we don't have that many courses or that many students, come on in, John, there's a probability even that a course you need next term may not be offered because there's simply not enough students enrolled in it. We enrolled about 120 students this term just in this course. We thought that was pretty damn good. I'm trying real hard to see us get another 130 to 150 next term. We get those kind of numbers coming in here, we'll have plenty of students to make all the courses we need. We're looking at a couple of other tracks. What are the 4 we have now? General management, HR management, public safety,
and financial.
public safety, and IT. Yeah, there's talk, so nothing firm, okay? But there's talk about maybe a nonprofit track. There's talk about an arts management for people that are into theater and those kind of fields. which would include a lot of nonprofit activity as far as fundraising, et cetera, and would include, I think, a lot of marketing. So I see the potential for this thing to continue to grow and grow well. But if you've got some ideas, I'd love to hear them. Okay, sir.
On the advisor thing, I feel that it's definitely prudent to go see Doug at least once a semester. I usually see him twice a semester.
Absolutely, at least once a semester. And at this point, you should be able to go in and say, here's what I'm planning, does that look okay? You know, which I'd much rather see people doing that than walking in and saying, tell me what to take. I ain't giving anybody that control over my life.
Howard Adams. I know in my situation with the public safety, so having so many students, I went in with the same kind of idea. This is what I'm planning on taking. What do you think? And then I had questions about, are we going to have enough people for our class?
Exactly right.
And do we need to all get together and start planning out what we're going to do together?
Quite frankly, as a kind of a, under the surface movement, I would recommend that. The college has been very understanding this term. We had several classes they allowed to go with only 4 or 5 students in them.
Wow.
But they cannot do that indefinitely, so. Yeah, if you came in and said, look, I got 10 people, we all need to take this course next term, that's big medicine. Good idea. All right, anything else on your mind? What's going on? Yes, sir.
Regarding the Caproni questions.
The
for
Caproni
midterm.
tech questions, chapters 1 through 3, correct?
Right, in each on chapter 1 and 2, item 1 is underlined. What is the purpose of that?
I don't know.
So we need to, for prepping for midterm, we need to answer all 5 questions.
Everything that comes from chapters 1 through 3. Does that
Okay,
make sense?
The handout that you have on the website?
Sure. Let me see. I underline things just because it sounded good at the time.
I think you just have to answer the questions
Um,
and elaborate on them.
It's
I don't know.
highlighted yellow, actually.
I don't know why those are underlined or highlighted.
Okay,
I don't
that
remember
works.
doing that. I probably was, Martini 30 and working on
Oh,
it.
my goodness.
Okay, other questions? Kinnicky, 8 chapters, approximately 40 multiple choice questions. Approximately 3 to 9 of those are going to be pulled out and you're going to be asked to explain something about that question in more depth. So you've got to know the multiple choice questions and not just memorize the answers. You've got to know the material. Caproni, those are discussion type questions. Hopefully by now you've already worked up answers to them and all you're doing is reviewing the high points, so if you see that question, you can write it out pretty easy. Calculator questions, we're going to work on that tonight. The only thing I'm going to put on this first exam is time value of money. But we'll go through all of those this evening. Next exam, the final exam, will also have that as well as break even or cost profit volume, I think it's called, and possibly 1 or 2 other small things. You must make a C on this exam to continue in the course. Okay? A great deal of your course grade has traditionally come from all of these assignments. And we've had occasion in the last couple of terms to have people do really good on all the work and then miserable on the exams. That doesn't work. That content of those textbooks, particularly Kinnicky, is the traditional management stuff you're expected to be familiar with. So it's got to be a C grade or better on this exam. Okay? Any other questions or comments? Anything at all?
Will it be weighted,
Will it be weighted?
like the
Curved.
curves?
Will it be curved? Yes, it'll be curved, but there's always one jackass in the class that gets everything right and screws it up.
Yeah, I know, but are you gonna throw them out? And
No? I'll tell you what I
The
do.
anomaly,
Let's say that we counted all the points and the maximum was 100. And if somebody made 100, well, you would think that that'd be a regular curve, right? 90, 80, 70, 60. I don't stick with that. I look at the distribution of the scores. And so the A's may drop down as low as 86 maybe, 85, depending on if there's not very many up there. And it's possible to get below 60 and still make a C, depending on the distribution of scores. That said, I'd still be shooting for 70% or better of whatever is authorized.
For 100% in everything you do, and if you fall low, at least you weren't shooting for lower.
No satisficing. Yeah. And occasionally you have a student who's, and not so much in this program, but particularly with my 1,000, 2,000 level courses, you get one or two, bless you, I sympathize. You get people who say, well, I studied really, really hard. I spent so many hours studying. Yeah, but you got a 47. But I studied really, really hard. What do you say to that person?
To learn how to study effectively.
What does the umpire say when you miss the third strike? You turn around and say, oh, I swung like hell at that thing, come on. You're out. That's the way the world works. Yeah. So I hear a lot of that once in a while. So is it possible to study too much for this test?
Yep.
Oh yeah, you can overstudy. You can walk out of this test saying, damn, I spent way too much studying for this thing, that was easy. Did you lose?
No.
I don't think so. And I think, John, you've got it right. There is a shtick, if you will, a procedure for studying. And some of us have variations on it. But you learn the shtick, and school gets to be pretty rote. And once you get the pattern down pretty good, then it starts getting fun.
And it's different for everyone, depending on their learning style.
Yeah.
Right.
But we do know, and this is some research but a lot of opinion, to the extent that you treat learning as a passive activity, you don't do as well. If all you do is read and memorize, you don't do nearly as well as if you engage the other learning styles to include interaction with others, chatting about the material with others, teaching the material. My story is when I was in the MBA program. It was a 2-year program, and at the end of the second year, you took a comprehensive exam over every course you've taken. And it was pass-fail. And if you failed it, you got to try it twice. You could fail it, and you failed it again. They said, been nice having you, see you, no degree. How hard would you study for that test? Well, we started about 8 months before we all were going to finish. And we assigned topics. I taught marketing. I taught marketing for a year and a half, just to my 7 or 8 other students in my study group. And by teaching marketing, I had it down pat. That was the easiest part for me. So you teach it, you explain it, you have it explained to you, you interact, you ask questions. That's how I think you learn it. All right, other comments or other questions? How many of you have played around with a calculator so far? A few. If you have played around with it, have you watched the videos? Were they explanatory?
Yes.
Okay, so if you don't get exactly what we're doing tonight, the videos should help you out. And there's some written stuff that kind of explains it too. I'm using the Texas Instruments Business Analyst 2 calculator. I have a phone app for mine. Apparently, someone was down at the bookstore earlier this week and was a little bit disappointed because the bookstore didn't carry this the calculator. That's not the bookstore's fault, it's mine. I didn't tell the bookstore that we required that calculator for this course. I just told everybody go to Walmart and buy it for 30 bucks. Frankly, I think you're going to buy it at Walmart cheaper than you're going to buy it at the bookstore anyway. Okay? Okay. Well, let's get started. The time value of money. Make you a deal. I'll give you $100 today, or I'll give you $100 a year from today. Which one would you prefer?
Depends on the
Cash
interest.
in hand right now.
Say again?
Cash in hand.
Cash in hand right now. Why? Other than the fact you're greedy.
Depreciation.
Depreciation. What do you mean?
$100 is not worth as much right now as it's going to be worth next year.
Other way, right? It's worth more now than it will be a year from now? It'll buy more now
Yes.
because of inflation.
Yes.
To the
That's right.
extent that-
Yeah.
Good.
Sorry.
You had the right explanation. Inflation will destroy the value of that money. And the other thing, somebody said something about interest rates. Assuming you could make 2% interest. If you had the $100 today and you kept it at earning 2%, you'd have $102 in a year instead of the $100 I would offer. So we say money has value based on time. And money today is worth more than the same amount of money at some point in the future. When we get into that concept, we're going to talk about 2 divisions here. First thing is we're going to talk about lump sum calculations. A single amount of money. And so if I gave you $100 today, and you could earn, let's say, 4% interest on it, and you kept it for 6 years, what would it be worth in the future? And this invokes the idea of compound interest, the best friend you'll ever have. What happens at the end of the first year?
$104.
You get $104. 4% interest on $100, $4. What happens at the end of the second year?
4% on 104.
You get 4% on $104, and so on each successive year. The interest compounds on itself. And people generally drastically underestimate how powerful that can be over time. Now, with the calculator, we're going to use particular buttons. We're going to use the PV or present value button to indicate the value of the money today. We're going to use the I/Y button to indicate the interest rate at work. We're going to use the N button to talk about how many years or compounding periods we're dealing with. And when we talk about the value of the money in the future, we're going to use FV. Now there are 5 buttons at play. One of them we're not using over here. When we talk lump sum, we do not use the PMT or the payment button. We'll come up to that later. With the calculator, what we're going to do is we're going to just put these numbers in with a couple of twists. So if you have your calculator with you, first thing you want to do, clear the calculator, and then I want you to clear the memory registers that hold these numbers. I want to make sure there's no leftover numbers in it from some earlier calculation. And so to do that, on your calculator, second button from the top on the left, right here, and it says second. It's a yellow button. And then on the third row, all the way over, there's a button there that says FV, and above it, it says CLRTVM. Before every calculation, go second, clear TVM. Second, clear the TVM registers. That's what that does. If you make sure you do that, you won't be screwing up by having some number already loaded in you didn't remember or forgot about or whatever. So the first thing I'll say is clear your registers. Boom. Then we can put these numbers in with a couple of little tweaks. When I am using present value and future value, the calculator is geared in terms of you put money out and then you get money back. You put it in the bank, you get it back. So one of these numbers, and it doesn't matter which one of these numbers has to be a negative. Okay? So if you go 100 and then bottom right button next to the equal sign, plus or minus, that changes the sign. Your display should be negative 100. And then press PV. And it'll display PV equals negative 100. You okay with that? Then I'm ready to go with the rest of it. 4, and then press IY. 6, press N, and then I'm ready to compute. And so the button over here above second is the CPT or compute button. I'm going to go compute future value. Compute. And the way I mark that when I'm doing this on the board, when I'm ready to do the computation, I'll put a kind of an apostrophe up there. Compute future value. And I got 126.53.
I'm sorry, I got lost along the way with the I and the Y. Could you backtrack a little
Okay.
bit, please?
We've cleared the registers.
Right.
We've put negative 100 in for present value. We put 4 in for IY,
Okay,
6 for N.
okay.
Then I'm going to do compute future value, CPT future value. CPT's up at the top left. Okay? Everybody okay with 126.53? Now, here's the other thing. With any three of these numbers, the calculator will compute the other one. And so sometimes we structure questions that will say, for this to get to here, how much interest do you need to be making? And so you might have to, compute the interest rate. Not rocket science. How are we doing so far? Okay, the occasional nod is appreciated. The occasional question is also appreciated.
How do you determine which number is negative?
Doesn't matter. If you don't put this one in as a negative,
Okay.
this one will come up as a negative. But if you're computing the interest rate and you put them both in as positive numbers, the calculator will give you error 5. Guess how I know that? Okay, error 5 means you didn't put in one of these as a negative. How are we doing?
Great.
It is really easy once you see the pattern.
What's the formula without using the calculator?
Beats the hell out of me.
I remember doing it in survey calc.
FV equals principal times 1 plus the interest rate to the power of the number of periods. But anybody that did that in a business meeting where I work, I'd ask him to excuse himself. In the good old days, we had tables that would let you do this kind of stuff. That was a pain in the neck too.
We're using tables like that in accounting.
Yeah. Well, accounting, what can you say?
Hey.
So use abacus for accounting.
Okay.
What I'm going to tell you is this. I have seen finance majors coming out of universities who can't do this.
Yeah.
And even if they can match the numbers, they can't explain it to you. And it's not very difficult. Let's try another example, okay? If I started out with $600 and I left it in the bank for 13 years and it was earning 4.5% interest, how much money would I have at the end of 13 years? What's the first thing you're going to do?
Clear everything.
Clear the registers.
I got the answer.
Balance is 63, 32 cents.
1063.32.
I remember those days.
Those 4.5%
Yeah.
days?
Yeah, right?
Insane. If we can talk about finance and economics, I'll tell you what I think is going to happen to interest rates. I think it's going to get interesting.
Think they're gonna go up?
I think inflation, they're going to let inflation go up to around 2 or 3%.
Mm-hmm.
In which case, interest rates at the bank will go up to about 3, 4, 5, somewhere in there on your savings. The mortgage rates will go up to 7, 8, 8.5. That'll be one of the best things we can do, both to stimulate the economy, surprisingly, and to pay off our debt.
Need to focus on that.
Pay off our debt with cheaper dollars, just as he was mentioning earlier. All right, how we doing?
Good.
No problems? Yet problema? Right? Anybody here got some Russian, right? Yet problema? Okay.
Are they always in that order, PV,
No.
second B?
No. Let's kind of screw it up a little bit. Look, I want to take a vacation in 6 years. I'm going to need $25,000 to do it. I can earn interest at 7 3/8%. Dad said he'd loan me the money to put in the bank for 6 years. How much do I need to borrow from him? First thing you're going to do,
Clear.
clear your TVM.
Did you say a vacation for $25,000?
I don't go second class, sweetheart. I mean,
Okay. I just wanted to get that straight.
And hell, I'm only going down over to, Boca Grande,
We're talking post-inflation.
Uh-oh, I'm something wrong.
That's how much you make in a week.
You think I could go to Europe for 2 weeks on 25 grand?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my wife? Or whoever?
Oh.
Oh, got a little attention finally.
Being recorded.
You need a driver, don't you?
Oh, yeah, definitely need a driver, need a translator or two.
Okay.
Make this a real fine trip. Anybody get an answer?
$16,307.
And 96 cents.
That's a lot of money to have to borrow from you.
$16,312
And 52.
and 52 cents.
3/8.
Everybody okay with the number? If you're not okay, you gotta say so.
Can you do it really slow for me, please?
Sure. This is what I want in the future. So that's my future value, and I made it a negative just because one of them's gotta be a negative. I have 6 years and 7 3/8%. How do you convert that to decimal?
7.3738.
Sorry?
Divide it.
How do you divide it?
3 divided by 8.
3 divided by 8 comes up 0.375 plus the 7, so it's 7.375 for IY.
Oh,
I came up with a.
mine rounds.
Mine rounds too,
Yeah, mine is 7.
Okay, let's fix that.
please.
Go to second format. Format is down at the bottom in the middle. What do you get?
Ah, gotcha.
Put 4 in for your decimal, and then hit enter up at the top row.
That's what,
You set it to 4 decimal points, it won't round off,
thank you.
except the 4 points, but that'll do you. Okay? All right. Let's make this a little more interesting. Suppose
Uh-oh.
I just inherited $15,000. I can earn interest at the rate of 9%. I've got 12 years, but interest is going to be on a quarterly basis. In other words, they're going to compound my interest 4 times a year.
So your N is 48?
So my interest rate per compounding period, okay? This is for a year, but I want it for a quarter, so I've got to say 9 divided by 4 equals, and that, whatever that shows on your calculator, put that in for IY.
Oh,
Because you're only going to get 1/4 of your interest per compounding period, because you only compound interest once every 3 months.
could you do your N as 48 instead?
Every 3 months or every 4 months?
Or not?
Quarterly, every 3 months, 4 times a year. And then for N, you multiply times 4, because it's going to compound 4 times a year for 12 years.
Oh, okay. You have to do them both because
Do them both.
it's annual interest.
It's
Interest per
quarterly
year,
interest,
compounded quarterly.
compounded quarterly. So let's see what we get.
We gotta do the division first.
Just go 9 divided by 4 equals, and whatever's displayed, just push IY. Anybody else confirm my number?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Anyone have any comments on that? Holy crap. I have found that a nice stout martini in the evening
Felt like a night.
doesn't make me feel any better, but it lets me not care nearly as much. It's just as good. Come in, come in. How we doing? Questions? What if I'd done this on a monthly basis?
9 divided by 12.
9 divided by 12,
12 times
12 times 12. You okay with that?
Oh, I got one.
Don't sound quite so surprised.
I had to step out.
Very quick aside, something called the rule of 72. The rule of 72. If I take the interest rate that I'm going to earn, let's say 8%, I divide 8 into 72, what do I get?
9.
8 into 72, without a calculator.
9.
See this damn public school, I'll tell you what.
That's scary.
Let me see here, just in a minute, you know. 9, right? If you take the interest rate you're earning, divide it into 72, the answer tells you how many years for your money to double.
Okay.
Okay? It's an approximation, but it's pretty accurate. Some books use the rule of 70, that's not as accurate.
Give you what?
Hmm?
What's it give you?
The number of years for your investment to double.
So I came up with 11. Is that possible?
I don't know. 8 and 72 divided by 8?
You did 8 divided by 72. You did it backwards.
Probably so.
So nowadays they give you 1/4%, so 288 years.
Yeah,
Oh, so
yeah. At 1/4% today, 288 years to double your money.
you're gonna be dead and gone.
This also applies, for example, to inflation. If inflation goes up 5% next year, what does that mean to you and me?
That goes up.
It means our dollars don't buy as much. It buys only 95 cents as much. If you took the rate of inflation at 8%, in 9 years, prices would double. Okay, same idea. And if you look back to 1979, in 1979, the rate of inflation was over 12%. And if
Wow.
we had stayed at that rate,
6
prices
years.
would have been doubling every 6 years. You think your incomes were staying up with that?
No, sir.
No way. Incomes are growing at 4 and 5 and 6, which means you're losing 6% per year. Which means in 12 years, you're living on half of what you used to. So, that's just a quick aside. That's there's a quick discussion on it on Canvas.